The Sex Ed with Tim podcast is recorded on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands.
You're listening to Sex Ed with Tim.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. I'm your host, Tim, certified sex educator, your local, chaotic, homosexual. And what do you call a lesbian, a gay man, a bi person, and a trans person who are waiting in line? Well, I guess you can call it an LGBTQ. Yeah. Oh, God.
So good.
No, it's not, Tanille.
I really like puns and jokes like that. They're so, yeah. I'm in.
Do we live for a good dad joke?
I love dad jokes.
Do you have any?
Oh, I'm from Alberta, so I don't really got many jokes. I just laugh at them. But the one that I've been an MC at weddings twice, and probably will not be invited back again. But I tell like Alberta jokes, like what do you call a cow with no legs?
What do you call that?
Ground beef.
Ground beef. Yes. Oh my God. It's so like plain and simple, but I think that's just like the pleasures in life, you know, the simple things. Like when I hear a fart, like that to me is so funny. The number of times I have farted during sex, I thought I was going to be embarrassed, but the other guy, like the guy who would be fucking me, he'd be like, "That's it. I can do it louder." And I'm like, "Oh my God."
That's amazing.
Jesus. I didn't know that we were that comfortable with each other.
And competitive. Like, I've not really heard about competitive farting.
Like, how are you trying to compete with my fart? I just farted because you pulled out and I'm like stopping. And then he's like, "Oh, that's it?" I'm like, ew.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's
my God. It did.
comfortable.
Yeah, it did warrant for a second date. So, which is great. Before we continue with this laughter fest, I wanted to introduce you to my chlamydiates, who are my fans. Chlamydiates.
I love it.
This person is such a wonderful guest that I'm so very happy to have here on the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. They're an intimacy coach, an artist, and just an overall amazing sex educator. Please welcome to the show, Tanille Geib. Meow, 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 meow.
Thank you.
I hope that intro did you justice.
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, please don't let me toot your horn. Feel free to rub your ego a little bit. Give the audience a little intro.
Okay, a little intro. Okay, my name's Tanille, and yeah, I have 3 pronouns currently. I use she, they, and Hubie, and Hubie is Hube. It's like a shortened version of human being, and that's one I've been playing with for a few years. But yeah, I think for me right now, just holding on to like gender is a journey, and yeah, pronouns don't currently piss me off, any of them, and those are the ones I cycle through.
Honestly, same. I'm like, you can call me any pronoun you want, mostly because I don't believe that gender is a thing. However, I have to subscribe to it because, you know, jobs and professional, and I'm like, whatever. I don't really care about pronouns. Like, down with pronouns, if anything. Like, let's just all go by, "Hey, fucker."
Yeah, I think, it's evolving a lot. Yeah. And then, who am I? I'm an intimacy coach and educator. I've been my previous life before that was, I was a writer, playwright, director, producer for theater mainly, and wrote a book which was around sexuality as well. It was called Love and Cooking, the Erotic Cookbook. Yeah, and I was just taking creative writing classes in college that were super boring. And so I started researching human sexuality, and then I kind of got obsessed and kind of jumped into community growth and learning from there. Yeah, just kind of went full on in, and I'm very excited and humbled to be working with humans in such vulnerabilities and excitement and learning and growth. And I think the thing that really excites me is that I can be in this career my whole life and still not know everything there is to know about human sexuality. And I think that that's just so exciting. Yeah, that's a little bit about me. I love humans and I love working with curious humans. And I do a lot of work in the community too. I write curriculum for healthy relationships, workshops. Yeah, and I do that in universities, schools, but also art shows and burlesque and creating safer spaces in diverse communities as well. So a little sprinkle of a lot. I'm really honored to do what I do, and I get to just be with people all day in really special ways.
I love that. And I also agree with your sentiment that the thing about this career is that we're always going to be learning, even though we ourselves are educators. But the thing about human sexuality is that it's so understudied and always evolving. And I've always been an advocate for fund the sexual sciences. I want to know how to get that best orgasm before I die. I want to know where in our brains kink exists, I want that. I'm such a numbers nerd.
Yeah, we're so young in statistics with human sexuality and relationships.
Right? I want the numbers. I want the data. I want to masturbate to an Excel spreadsheet.
Excel spreadsheet. Did I write that in my thing?
Oh my God, isn't it?
Because I literally love Excel sheets so much.
Oh my God, talk dirty to me with that pivot table. Oh.
And color coding and formulas. Very sexy.
Oh my God. A pie chart that you can transcribe to a bar graph. Oh my Lord, so sexy.
So satisfying. I'm really a sapiosexual, in so many ways, but if someone has skills around organization or just really clearly knows something like that, it's very attractive.
Mm-hmm. For our listeners at home, could you please just define a sapiosexual?
Yeah, sure. So I like to say a lot of labels, you have to really check in with what it means for each person. So a general way that I like to kind of take it from not being as ableist, because there's been critique in the community around it being ableist. So what I say is I am attracted to people in the way that they express themselves, or they're I have to have a really exciting conversation of some sort for that, for arousal or excitement to connect with someone. So the more normative label of it, or the definition, is more you're attracted to someone's mental self, or their brain or something like that. But I kind of flip it around a little bit as I'm really attracted to how and why and what people are expressing about their passions or their knowledge, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I am somewhat like that, but with certain context. So, for example, I was just on a brunch date with one of my fuck buddies, and we're just having brunch. There's nothing completely erotic or arousing about this. It's just normal. And then, because my friend, he is a professor of gender studies and queer history. He was talking about the lavender scare at the dawn of like the Cold War. And it was just so fascinating the way he was talking about, you know, all the nuances and like the line of logic of why like, oh, gay people must be susceptible to Russian influence or whatever.
Right.
And just the way he was talking about it, it gave me an erection.
Yes. Totally.
Yeah.
Someone talking about their passion, like whatever it is, if it's like mushrooms or like Excel or like, I don't know, like I'm just like, yeah, tell me more. What are you stoked about in this life? Because it's like hard out there right now and people are stressed and there's so much going on. And it's like, if someone still has that capacity to share something that they love, like it's just, yeah, I like to relish in it.
I agree because I don't know what it is. I think it's just like that passion, that sort of like sparkle in their eye that is almost like an aphrodisiac. Like, talk to me about knitting.
Yeah, exactly. About it. I don't know anything about knitting, so like, tell me about it. That sounds great.
Yeah. Ooh, a crochet hook. Oh my god. Yeah. But I wanted to talk more about your work, your body of work and everything surrounding that. So for example, your foray into becoming a sex educator. So you said you were a writer.
Yeah.
And what was like the inkling that got you into like, oh, maybe I'm going to write something about sex? Because you did mention like a sex cookbook.
Yeah. So it started in one of my writing classes. I think it was a nonfiction class. And that's the preference I like to write in, is like really writing from my own experiences in life. So I just started writing some erotica, like some like beautiful, cute, whatever erotica around this stuff with my ex at the time, around our meals and prep and all these kinds of things and all the sexy things we would do after a meal or before a meal or whatever. And and then I kind of just was like, oh, I want to write more like in general around sexy things and being like a sexual being in this world and their creativity around it. So yeah, after that, I like also started writing for a magazine back in the day. I think that was like in 2010 or so, 10, 20. Anyways, Ariel Lauren had this really great sex magazine called Corset. And I was a writer there for a few years, just just like fun, adventurous sex stories or things that happened in my life that were really like beautiful and interesting. And then I kind of realized that like, oh, like I want to talk to people about sex more. Like I was always the person in the friend group that everyone would talk to me about their sex. I would talk to them. It's like, I already had that like built in, like I'm the person people talk to about that. But I was like, what about like in a wider scale? Like how could I do that in community? And so about a couple of years later, I started the Sexuality Salon, which was like a weekly get together at Café du Soleil on Commercial Drive in Vancouver. Each week was like a different topic of human sexuality, and I invited different professionals and artists in to be on a panel or express themselves in that art form around that topic. And I got to actually like facilitate community discussions around sex. And I was like, this is amazing. And
yes.
Yeah. And that's kind of where it all started from, in a sense. And I started building within the community of professionals and just, you know, people in general, and having these kind of like harder, interesting, hopeful conversations about different things around sexuality.
That's amazing. And it's like that kind of passion that we were talking about earlier that's like very attractive. And I don't know why I had the opposite reaction to like yes, I'm a sex educator now, but like instead of me being the open one about sex, I was very much like, please don't tell me anything. I do not want to know. Yet, my friends would come to me for relationship advice despite being medically diagnosed as single forever. So, so I'm like, I mean, okay, I guess this is the thing. And I think there was something about that made me want to like explore sexuality a little more. But really the story is that I was in New York. My girlfriend at the time, she was like, "Hey Tim, you're gay. How do I have sex with my boyfriend?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." We're just gonna jump right into it. And what turned out to be like a conversation was like what lit a fire under my ass. I'm like, oh wow, I really enjoy talking about sex and everything around sex. And then the morning after, she texted me about how she squirted for the first time because of anal. And I'm like,
That's great.
I feel like I just did, I don't know, like a service to the world.
Right?
I've given back.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, it's so nice to serve people, and it's so nice to like be in people's lives in that special way. Like it's an honor, right? Like it's truly like, holy shit, like you trust me enough to like bring things to me and I get to support you. And like, it's the best job. It's the best job.
Mm-hmm. I told her boyfriend that you need to think of me every time you fuck your girlfriend in the ass. I was responsible for that.
You were the helper.
I was there in spirit. What are some of your like favorite moments as a sex educator? Whether it be like a crowd, a one-on-one.
Yeah, I was teaching a workshop called Slow Burn Dating at the Base Coast Music Festival last year, and it ended up being really popular, which I wasn't really thinking it would be. But and it also, like, a storm started right as the workshop happened, and we were in a covered spot, so like more people were coming in. I was like, yes, this is great. And you know, it was like I was just so proud that people could like show up and be brave and like care to express themselves and what they're looking for in desire and connection. Yeah, I had some really deep feedback from some of the participants all over the weekend on how like coming to that workshop really opened them up in a new way, or they got a new reflection, or one person was like, wow, I've never actually heard a facilitator set up like community guidelines that include my identities, and really made sure that I was like a safe enough, like in a safe enough container to explore and be my full self, which was really sweet and beautiful. Yeah. And then at the end of the weekend on like Sunday night, one of the last shows, a person came up to me and my partner and was like, can I share about the workshop with you? I was like, yeah, totally. And the person was like, you know, the first 20 minutes or half an hour, I was really angry at you. And I didn't really get your presentation, and I was just angry. But by the end, I really opened up, and I really think that you impacted like my life and this weekend to be open to human connections in ways that I never thought about before. And I was like, fuck yeah. Like, high fives.
Amazing. Yeah. What were they angry about?
I think maybe this person had not, well, I mean, they were saying that, you know, because of the age that he's at, and, you know, maybe because he's more on the heterosexual side, you know, he's maybe not been in like spaces that were meant like, or at least welcomed with queer folks, kinky and polyamorous people. You know, I think like my existence and the way that I wanted to set up space and call in people's bravery and connection and all this was startling to him, or he just never encountered that before. So yeah, he was saying that it was a really difficult thing to stay through, but he was really happy that he did. And I just think that that's really, one thing I've learned over the years is like, I'll talk at a conference or something the year before, and like, you know, someone pulls me over at an event and was like, "Hey, you're Tanille." I'm like, yep, I am. And been like, "I listened to you at that workshop, but I was pretty annoyed about what you were saying about consent. But like a year later, it really makes sense to me. And like, I've really thought about that." And I'm like, okay, cool. And it really like reminds me of like when I was in theater writing and directing shows, like I wanted people to be like ecstatic about my work or really angry about my work.
Just to stir some shit.
Yeah, like I'm just like, if people are like meh about my theater show, I'm like, well, I could do better, right? So like I think that when people come to like connect with me or learn or be supported by me in their journey, like I really honor everyone and where they're at in their journey and how they want to move and learn and grow. And I think some of the most satisfying things are like, maybe people aren't ready to be on this journey yet, but they like have met me somewhere or have heard about me or a clip or something. And then in their time, in their way of learning and growth, something clicks for them years later or moments later. And I think that is just so beautiful to like be part of that for people's lives. It's really great.
Mm-hmm. That's so beautiful. Do you find that like, because you have some notoriety, it's kind of like there's an expectation on you to fulfill this sort of like title?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there is like responsibility to myself and to my communities that I serve. You know, unfortunately, because I'm so obsessed with humans, like I want to know everyone personally, but I don't always get that opportunity. Sometimes I'm talking to a crowd of 500 people. Sometimes I'm talking to like, 10 people, and maybe I don't get individual conversations out of it. And I realize that just being who I am in the communities that I work in, like I am going to be more known than an audience member, perhaps. But yeah, like it's weird. Like about a year ago, I got stopped on the street and was like, "Hey, are you Tanille?" Like, "Yep." And they're like, "I just really want to say I really loved your chats at some of the shows I've been to, and like, thank you so much for what you do." And I'm like, "That's so cool, thank you." And I'm like, "And what's your name? Like, who are you?" Like, like I'm just like, "Tell me about you," Like, I think that's the only thing that frustrates me about that specific part of my job is that like I don't necessarily always have the time to actually get to know everyone on one-on-one, unless they're like an intimacy coaching client of mine. I actually get lots of one-on-one, and I really think that that's really juicy and really fun to work with people.
I have kind of a similar interaction with the people here in Toronto because I am like, I don't want to say this. I hate it. I hate when I describe myself as this, but like I'm known, right? It feels like I'm like masturbating without consent. It's just like, ugh, I hate when I call myself that. I'm known. But because of my podcast and because of the work that I've done, there will be some guys who stop me in the streets. It's like, "Hey, you're Tim." And my initial reaction would be like, I wonder if this guy is a fan or if he's a guy that I forgot to call after we slept together.
Yep. Those are things to be known from, I guess.
Yeah, it's a great thing to be known. Like, because, again, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I have had partners that are within the thousands range already. So, and the reason I know this is because I kept an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh my God, you have an Excel spreadsheet of all your previous lovers? I am obsessed, Tim. This is magic.
It is so bad because I didn't even keep their names. It's just like their descriptor. Was it good or should I go again? And that was it.
See, you're collecting data for the things we need. You're already doing it, Tim. In the next 10 years, you can be like, "Here's some data."
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if 2,000 is a decent sample size. I mean, I hope it is.
Pretty good sample size.
Right. I mean, and I don't know what kind of data I'd be collecting.
I mean, if it's good, I mean, I think I would have to collect a little bit more to come up with some sort of comparisons. Like, it's like, what do they look like, or a descriptor of them? Like, the person with the blue jacket, was it good? Do I go again? And it's almost like you need one more thing to like really quantify the data somehow. Like,
exactly. And like, I don't know what that would serve for me. However, it is nice to look back and like, oh my God, my tastes have changed over the years. I've been
beautiful.
Yeah. However, I do have another method of collecting data, and I'm going to put it here in the chat. And it's such an unhinged thing to do. It's basically, so after I have sex with a guy, I send him this Google Docs survey.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Oh my gosh, you have a Google Docs survey for after people have sex with you?
Yeah.
And like you send it to everyone? Or to the people you have
the guy, to the guy that I've had sex with at that moment.
Oh my God, I love that. Okay, this is blowing my brains out. Okay, like this is like, I really love this because I get clients to like, after their, first date, I get them to answer some questions about how they felt and but like to send the person you're on a date with or have had sex with on feedback form, this is just great.
I think so. Like, the questions are pretty simple, and I believe there's only like 10 questions here. It's like your name. It doesn't have to be your real name. When did we fuck? What was your position? What were your first impressions? What did you enjoy? What could have been done better?
Ooh.
What did you want to happen? And would you like to see me again?
Oh my gosh, it's perfect.
Yeah. Right? And I feel like that kind of data I can quantify.
Yes, I was doing this workshop. This art project years ago. I've done it twice, and it's called 30 Nights of Sleepovers. So literally, I like have 30 sleepovers with at least 30 different people for 30 nights in a row. And the first time I did it in Vancouver. And the second time I did it over 4 weeks in 4 different cities across Canada, which was insane. And I always got them to fill out a form afterwards. Like, what did we do at the sleepover? What was fun? Do you want to have another sleepover with Tanille in the future? Like,
wait, are these just like random strangers that signed up for your art project, or?
So there was like some sort of web of somehow I knew someone. So it was like either a personal friend of mine or a friend of a friend, or like I multiple times had like sleepovers with like an organization. Like I would like one time I had a slumber party with like, I think it was like the biggest one was like 13 people, and we rented an Airbnb and like just had a really awesome fun night. But yeah, I always wanted to like see how things were going and like, how do I get better at the next sleepover with them? And anyways, this is very nerdy.
No, I love this because that's not that, unsimilar to the data that I'm collecting. That's so interesting. So what kind of data were you collecting and how did you use that to better yourself at sleepovers?
Yeah, I don't know if I could ever do it again. I like the first time I did it, I was like, I'm never doing this again. And then 4 years later, I'm like, I should do it in more over 4 cities. This will be fine. It'll be fine. I got really sick both times, like, because each person that's having a sleepover with me, they could spend all night up and like have that slumber party experience, right? But like me, I was doing it every night in a row. So I was just like super haggard. And during the days I had to like prep, like finish that sleepover and then get ready for the next one. So it's like, I would actually get people to write like, what do you want to do for your slumber party? Like, do you want to watch movies or do you want to play chess? Do you want to like prank phone people? Like, or like, is there a certain kind of snack you like? Like,
flip through a fashion magazine, like Cosmo.
Like, do you want to do like a beauty night? Like, what would be fun? And so, yeah, I basically was just collecting their experience, and then throughout like sometimes I would blog about what we did, or like the second time I had like a filmmaker come with me for half the time and film footage of the sleepovers. And some of us created art together. It was really cool. Yeah, it was such a great experience. But I was just collecting everything so that if I wanted to ever do a bigger project with it, then I would have all this collection of data.
Yeah. Oh my God. It'd be cool if you were able to like do one sleepover per night for an entire year.
Oh my God. I probably would die.
Fair.
Not that
Fair.
I don't.
I mean,
like, I love sleepovers, and I love humans, and I just love slumber parties. And I think adults should just have more slumber parties. Like, why the fuck do we just like, oh, we only have sleepovers with our partners? Like, that's fun and sexy, great. But like, what about friends slumber parties? Like, bring it back.
I agree. You call it slumber parties. I call it getting out before he wakes up. Collecting my clothes and various effects from the floor, making sure not to wake up his dog, and then just making a run for it. Oh, my goodness.
We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Yes!
Hey, you sick motherfuckers! I've got a special treat for you. Need a new toy to spice up your sex life? Head over to loveshop.ca/sexedwithtim and get yourself a cock ring, a dildo, a vibrator, or even a life-sized sex doll. Damn, I guess love really does come in all shapes and sizes. Get 15% off your entire order when you use code SEXEDWITHTIM at checkout. They're shipping to all of Canada and the United States because North America is horny. That's loveshop.ca/sexedwithtim and use code SEXEDWITHTIM for 15% off your entire purchase. Happy orgasm! Do you like feeling sexy and looking sexy? Of course you do. Only my listeners are sexy as fuck. I have partnered with fetishwear designer Dale Kuda to bring you the hottest deals on custom jockstraps, harnesses, hats, and more. Head over to dalekuda.com, that's DALEKUDA.com, and use code SEXEDWITHTIM at checkout for 25% off the entire store. Yeah, you heard me. 25% off. And cherry on top, free shipping. Oh my God. I have a few of the stuff that he has made for me, and girl, I'm wearing it right now. I'm wearing like a little jock strap so that I could easily just like slip a little butt plug or dildo every now and then here and there, and I'm on the train. I'm just like, thank you, Dale. That's dalekuda.com with the code SEXEDWITHTIM for 25% off your entire purchase with free shipping. With a deal like that, I swear I could come buckets, honey.
The show is about to begin.
Yes!
I could never do something like that, mostly because my social battery is very, very low and very like limited. Like I could barely sleep over at my regular fuck buddy's house. And not because of the social battery thing, but more so I'm thinking, is sleeping over worth not putting on my retainer tonight?
Oh, yeah, you gotta have a go bag.
You know, my retainer. And also I sleep with a CPAP machine. So I'm like,
that's a little bit harder. That's a little bit harder accessibility wise.
Right? And also because it takes a lot for me to get to sleep. Like I need my Galaxy projector. I need some music. Not even music. I open my Calm app so that I can hear Tom Hiddleston read me a bedtime story about Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Like those are the things I need. I also need my dog.
Yeah. So you got a lot going on at your place. Do you have slumber parties there? Like, do you have sleepovers there with people? And that goes well?
Nope. Because I run hot. My bedroom is my sanctuary, and it is like I try to make it as temperature controlled as possible because when I sleep, my body produces a lot of heat.
Yeah.
So then I have to crack open a window even during the winter.
Yeah, you're so steamy then.
Exactly. It's like kind of like that scene in Titanic where her hand just wipes the glass.
So
it's very much, yeah, it's hot, but you know, I make do. I do love my own personal space. I am very much an introvert, and hey, you know what? That doesn't mean I'm bad at sex. It just means I don't want anyone sleeping beside me.
You know, yeah, you could have great sex and not have sleepovers.
Exactly. Do you also find that because you're a sex educator, there's this sort of expectation on us to be amazing at sex?
Oh, yeah, 100%. The pressure is on.
Yeah.
But you know,
I have a title to maintain.
I think, yeah, I think there is. I think there's like been people that I've hooked up with in the past that they were like, holy shit, like I thought it would be good, but I didn't know it'd be this good as like fucking a sex educator. And I'm like, I think the elements of it are like, I'm actually really curious about each person's body and what is exciting to them. And I'm very exploratory and I have no fucking shame, like, you know? And so like, I don't know. I think I've done a lot of work personally and now it's my profession to actually be like really open and curious and have clear boundaries for myself. But like in general, I'm like really about a good time. Yeah, it's great.
I'm always a proponent of ask a queer person on how to have sex so that you have the best sex. There's just something about our nerdiness, our like this unashamed approach to sexuality. Like, how do you, I guess I'm unfriended. How do you fuck, Tanille? How do you fuck?
Well, I guess I'll talk about like the past little while. Yeah, definitely like leaning more into understanding myself as a queer person, as a sexual person. I have been always myself. I just didn't have labels growing up around it. And because I'm pansexual and sapiosexual, like it was easy to be in really good hetero relationships for the time and what I wanted and needed. But nowadays, I'm really, really exploring like queerness, magic, spirituality, and cosmic sex. And
okay, I want to hear this. Magic, cosmic sex?
Yeah, that's what I'm into.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so it's interesting because throughout my life, I've had like really, really connected, beautiful times with sex and really powerful moments sometimes when other people have that capacity, right? So it's like if folks aren't connected to more than what we see, you know, then we're going to have really good physical sex, right? That's still going to be a thing. But what I'm really learning about myself currently, like in my new partnership and such, is that like if someone else has the capacity to like fly through the cosmos while we're having sex, it's great. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. And it's so great because like years ago, I was journaling and I really wanted like, I put in this like big words like cosmic sex, like this is the thing that I want. And it was like indescribable at that time. And it's also still hard to describe. So like things like really and this is like taking like the queerness up a notch and like really knowing that all parts of our bodies can be a zone of excitement or moments of like pleasure and sensation that isn't like genital focused or orgasm focused. And if you can actually like release some normative structures around what you think you've been taught what pleasure is, like it can be really, really fun. The first time I ever kind of got into it or learned more about it was I was with someone who is my dom at the time. He was just like playing with my body and figuring it out. And at one point he was like playing with an intercostal muscle on my rib and like just like played with it and just like breathed into it, all of these things. And I ended up having an orgasm from him just touching my rib.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, this is good shit. Okay, let's do this.
More.
Yeah. And so I started to really explore more parts of my body and my breath and my focus, I guess, around expansiveness and, like trying to really, instead of like going through normative scripts in my head of like, oh, this is what sex is, or this is what performance people like, or this, or this, or this. It's like, well, like, let's start with like breathing together and see how far we can get. And like with the person I'm with right now, we had like really cosmic sex the first time we had sex. And it was like, yeah, I think the first time we were just like breathing together. Yeah, we were breathing together and had like 4 orgasms and holding each other in spoon position.
From just breathing?
Just breathing together.
I am jealous. Also, 4 orgasms, I need a break. If we keep breathing, I'm like, okay, hold on.
Okay,
I may need to asphyxiate myself if I'm gonna keep coming.
Yeah. So I think just like being open to sensation, being open to like knowing that we can create spiritual moments and we can go further than what is just in our bodies, and seeing where your soul wants to play and dance. And I think that that's really, it could just mean so many different things, and you can really play with so many different things and archetypes and ideas. But then like also sometimes you're like, why the hell am I literally seeing a star birth while you're having an orgasm? This makes no sense, but like it also makes all the sense.
It's that gif of like that guy whose mind is being blown and then it's just like stars, explosions.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for clarifying that, because when you were saying magic sex, I was like, are you going to pull a rabbit out of their asshole? Like, is that
like that kind?
Is that like that kind of magic? Are you going to fuck me with your wand? Are you going to make my STI? Right? Are you going to make my STI just magically disappear?
Ooh, I don't know.
I would like that. So for the lay person that's listening right now, how, like, what's the easiest way to describe cosmic sex then? Because we use a lot of like flavorful language here, but like, you know.
So I think cosmic sex is really tuning into energy. What is your energy right now? So like if I'm going into the bedroom with my partner and I'm coming in with the energy of like, I'm so stressed and I've got to do these 5 things, like, look at my energy. I'm like, I'm not there. I'm not open. Right. So like, how do I actually know what energy I'm bringing into a space and how I'm checking myself and what I want to intend to do, right? Like, do I actually need to like actually take my body and shake it? Do I need to put on like a beautiful song that I know just like really melts myself and really gets me ready? So I think it's like really noticing like what energy are we coming in with? Is it like, I'm ready to party, we're going to fuck real good? Like, or is it like, ooh, I'm really like, I don't know, just like playing with a thing that you have in your house that like, you're like, oh, this could be a sexy thing. Like, what energy are we actually intending and bringing into? I think that that's really important. It's kind of like if you're going to go do psychedelics in a like therapeutic way, in a sense, it's like you're really setting yourself up for like intending and kind of getting ready to take on a sacred space with someone, and then letting like your creativity just like be there and like ask people's desires. Like, I think there's so much magic in actually just like asking people's desires and sharing yours. Like, and this is the work of part of consent and all this, but like, it really is magic when someone's actually honest about what they desire with you. And that is such an honor. And I think that that can be brought into like breath, right? So it's like, maybe you start like spooning someone and you're breathing together in sync and you're talking about desires. Like that's already like forming a sense of like togetherness and oneness. And like, yeah, I think it is really spiritual sometimes. I'm not saying it is all the time, but like you could, you know, bring more connection to it. And when I say spirituality, I'm not saying religion. I'm not saying like whatever. I'm just saying like there can be parts of us that are not just physical, really playing in the realm of sex.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't even have to be like woo woo, because the magic can exist in the form of, how do you want me to fuck you? Or like, I want you to fuck me like this. Yeah, like that's already expressing desire.
That's beautiful.
Right?
It's super hot. Or it could be like, you know, I'm obsessed with the color hot pink. It's like, if my partner knows that and puts on like hot pink, like hue lights, you know, like that's super
hot
special.
Pink. Do you see my mouse? It is a strawberry.
I love it so much. I'm obsessed. But yeah,
Pink
there's like,
is my favorite color.
Like kind of, yeah, not like spiritual and magic that's like not achievable. It's like just noticing that, like, isn't it magical that we are human beings on this earth in this way that has like oceans and mountains and we get to play in sex? Like that's the kind of magic I'm talking about.
That's almost very, I don't even know how to, like, is it holistic? Is it like just kind of losing your ego a little in order to put yourself in the context of a bigger picture?
Yeah, or realizing we are literally part of bigger pictures, you know? Like the other day, I'm a little weird, but I really, it's okay. People know this about me. But I was thinking the other day, I was at a dance event and I was just like looking at people's feet and the way that they were dancing and how beautiful it was. And then I was thinking like, ooh, at what point are like everyone's feet like 1 foot up at the same time? Like, I think that's magic, right? So I don't know. Yeah. It's just like, I'm open to the possibilities of like beauty and connection and nature. And who are we as natural animal beings that have pleasure in sex and really playing with that?
Yeah. And just like, sex is so natural and it is just like part of the human experience. And I don't know, maybe it's because I live in this bubble of like being surrounded by sex educators. So I kind of don't know where the shame comes from anymore. Like, and also at the same time I do, because, you know, like colonization, religion, blah, blah, blah. But also like, it has become this sort of like mantra for me to just be unapologetically sexual. And when I say sexual, as in like being in touch with my sexuality and unapologetically talking about it. I once had a guest who said, Tim, you are so comfortable talking about sex that it's kind of intimidating. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, I feel like I thought I was sexual, but then I hear you talk about fisting. And I was like, I guess. I don't know. It's just a part of who we are.
Yeah, it's just a part of you. And it's also like everyone is at their own journey in their relationship to sex, right? And I think that, yeah, we have so much to be and explore. And if we, like, I don't know, it sounds very like gay agenda shit, but like, everyone's a little queer. In my opinion, not everyone, because there's asexual people and there's actual straight people. I do believe there's a small percentage, but like,
where are they? Those straight people? I've never seen one.
I know.
Or some of my best friends are straight.
Yeah, no, and I think the thing is like, if we even just look again, we'll bring statistics back because some of the largest studies were through Kinsey, and there's a lot of like, again, critique around the data he was bringing in and who's talking about sex. So what is the data going to show? Anyways, with that said, there's like within that data, which is like, what, 50,000 adults across the US or something like that, in his studies, 10% were gay, 10% were straight, and everyone else was in the middle. And so really, when you look at it, it's 90% of people are somewhat queer. And yeah, so it's like, that's exciting.
Floating in that spectrum, that gray area.
In the grays and the whatever colors you want it to be. And so
the blurs.
I think it's just like the blurs. And I think if we just give ourselves, our partners, our community permission to just explore more. Like, I think that there's such beauty and exploration and creativity and play. And it doesn't have to mean anything about your label, right? Like you can hold on to your straight label, whatever you want. You can hold on to your straight gay label, whatever. But like, I think there's so much creativity and play that can come with like, okay, I'm still going to have that label, but like, also, what does that mean? Right? You can be two straight people together and still have queer sex. You can be, you can really play with so much in this world. And I think the thing that I really hope to do is show people that they don't have to be shameful for the things that they desire. And you can have consenting, healthy ways of pretty much doing anything you want. Yeah, it's just like an opportunity to have more play and pleasure in our lives.
Mm-hmm. As long as everyone's consenting, nobody's getting hurt, everyone's having fun, what's the harm? Like, it's fine.
It's fun.
It's fun.
People like, no. How much time do you spend having sex? And I'm like, yeah, on average, anywhere from like 12 to 20 hours a week. Like, it's like a part-time job. Like, and people are like, how? And it's like, you actually just have to put it as priority. Like, like you feed yourself how many times a day, you go to work, you do the things with the kids and you get the groceries and you do all these chores. But like, also, what about pleasure?
Yeah, we're forgetting to put some pleasure in our life because it's always like go, go, go. It's the next thing after the other. But like your me time, and pleasure doesn't necessarily have to be like sex or, it can be meditation. It can be journaling. It could be playing with your dog. Like literally make that a priority on like your checklist of things that you want to get done through your life.
And like I say to people sometimes, it's like, you don't even have to put it like what you're going to be doing every day. Cause sometimes that like executive function isn't there for like my neurodiverse friends, like, oh, but I have to plan and prep all this. No, you just put pleasure somewhere in your calendar, like from 2 to 2:30 every day. And you get to decide in that moment what pleasure would feel like. Is it a nap? Is it a run? Is it like finding a favorite new porn thing? Is it, calling your friends and knitting on the phone at the same time? Like whatever, put pleasure in.
Yeah, you could knit and watch porn at the same time.
Yeah, we call that, what is it, cunt and craft?
Farts and crafts.
Farts and crafts, cunt and craft, whatever you want.
Yeah. I do find it a little sad that we have put pleasure on the back burner.
I know.
Because, like, especially with what's going on in the world right now, whether it be a different war that we're going to hear on TV or some sort of local crime that's happening. And it's very hard to like stay focused. How then do you suggest to the listeners at home, how can they put more pleasure in their life?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So what I have been doing is have boundaries around the things that I need to show up and be an ally or an activist in, and put that in a container as well. So like for me, I am dedicated to so many different things and projects and movements. Like I'm literally like a person that's intersectional, feminist, like I'm trauma informed, like I try and grow all the time in those things. And I just can't also be consumed by it. for me to be healthy and show up and be an active ally in the ways that I can, or be a leader in the community, I need to have times where I'm like, I'm in it and I'm like feeling it and doing the work. And I also have to book in the like juxtaposition of pleasure and joy too, you know, to survive. Like survival for queer folks, for whatever marginalized community, you also have to have joy to exist. And sometimes those things are going to eat up your day. It's going to eat up your week. It's going to eat up your month, like the intensity of the way you want to show up. And that's beautiful. And thank you for all the energy and work you put into things, you know? And also, like, I started realizing years ago that I was like putting everyone not above me, but like making sure everyone was like around me good before myself. And what I realized, the simple thing is just I actually have to put myself in the equation. So it's like that person plus me equals my life. It's not just everyone outside
that person,
of me.
that person. Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I get scraps whenever that's left over. But really, like, how to come to better like community work and activist work, or like, I don't know, even my own job. Like, in order for me to be well and do well for my clients, I also have to have like more time off sometimes because I'm working with my chronic pain or like whatever it is, right? And so really having time to the things you care about and you're trying to forward or fight or do good in the world, but also like knowing that those have to have containers too, as much as you can. And I know that's privilege speaking too, is there are times where I have containers and I can put things down and some people can't. And, you know, I know that that's complicated.
But I think the main message would then be like, don't empty out your cup and forget to refill it back.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah, in order for you to serve others, you must serve yourself. Or like whatever it is that RuPaul said. You know, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else?
Yeah. But it's, I think in mutual aid communities, and this is what I'm learning so much about and just like kind of getting lush with, is like, how do we build communities of mutual aid? And not everyone can do all the things all the time. But if we band together in community, someone can take this accountability thing on. Someone can go and do this protest. Someone can go and do this. So if we're all knowing our limits and capacities with it, like whether it's disability or, you know, neurodivergent stuff or, you know, like, you know, yeah, I'm tapping out because I'm this kind of person in this way. We need community so that we can all take on different roles at different times, depending on our capacities as we move forward.
Yeah. Kind of like the orgy dome in Burning Man. Everyone is like accountable for different things. You've got like the consent maidens coming around.
Yeah, the orgy dome at Burning Man. I've been there, done that.
Yeah. I don't know if I could ever do Burning Man, mostly because sand. And I've had sex on the beach. It's not great. I'm a very hygienic person.
Burning Man is a lot about survival of nature, and it's quite intense. Also very beautiful, but quite intense. The extremes, like lots of extremes there.
I am a pillow princess. I want a shower and I want to jump in bed naked underneath my sheets with my dog already nuzzled up against me.
Oh, nice.
I want that. Well, Tanille, I hate to break it to you, but we are coming at the end of the show. No. But it is an absolute pleasure talking to you. I can't get enough of you. I'm pretty sure our listeners, my chlamydians, cannot get enough of you either. So can you please make like a butt and plug anything you want the audience to find?
Sure. Yeah. If you're in West, like Coast Salish territories in Vancouver, Victoria, I put on an event called Slow Burn Dating. So check that out. If you're at festivals, we're applying to that this year. You can find me on Eventbrite if you want to see my events. on the West Coast right now. Maybe in the next year or bit, I'll take it across Canada, but follow me there and you'll find out updates on Eventbrite. And then also, I'm taking on clients these days for intimacy coaching. I have a few sets left. I work with folks all over the world on Zoom or phone, text, and in person. Right now, I'm really, really enjoying working with couples. Like, I just really love working with couples and their conflicts and that kind of thing. So yeah, if you're looking at working through anything with your intimacy with yourself, your partner, or in community, I would love to connect.
I love it. And for anyone that missed it, please check out the show notes. I put everything in there. And, just hire Tanille for your intimacy needs. They're great. I am just meeting them now, and I'm already in love.
Oh, Tim, I'm so glad you did this. Thank you.
I'm so glad, Tanille, and thank you, my dear listeners, for making it this far into this chaotic-ass conversation. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe, because if you don't, you are a homophobe, you're a misogynist, you're a racist. You need to leave that 5-star rating or else you're going to hell. I don't make the rules. I'm sorry. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Sex Ed with Tim podcast, and I will see you all at the next one. Bye! Thanks for listening to the Sex Ed with Tim podcast. Sex Ed with Tim is created and produced by me, Tim Lagman. Music is Aces High by Kevin MacLeod. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at GaySlutClown and at Sex Ed with Tim. You can also like and follow me on the Sex Ed with Tim Facebook page. If you enjoyed the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for all your support, you dirty little slut. Mwah.